It's the Redirect Podcast. Search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 39 of the Redirect Podcast. It is Friday, March 23rd, 2018. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing. I'm joined this week by Ashley and Patrick from the Black Truck team. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
What's going on?
We are dwindling down the month of March. I think the month of March has gone by relatively quickly, like almost as fast as the short month of February.
I'll agree to that.
Yeah, next week is the last week of the month.
Yeah. We're headed that way. We're already into the first of spring, and
yeah, Q1's almost done.
I know, it's crazy. Q1's almost done. So well, let's start off there then. I'm gonna put you both on the spot and say, give me a tip for or an action item that maybe you should do now that Q1 is coming to an end. What should you take action on and look at within the first week of Q2?
That's related to something I learned in Q1.
Hey, I'm gonna let you go for it as long as it's not related to like your golf game or something.
Okay,
like
what
that.
I've been focusing on for the last month or so is conversion points and Tag Manager. So I think I'm going to really start going through all the accounts I work on, the fine-tooth comb for Tag Manager and conversion points, both organically and paid search.
Pat's been working on a lot of migrating of goals and conversions as a lot of sites are migrating over to Google Tag Manager still, and making sure that we're firing events and firing conversion tags, especially with AdWords, into the specific pages we want to. So you're basically saying I'm going to review what was done in Q1. Where did you fall short, and try and get the rest of them cleaned up and moving forward to start the quarter off right. That's good. That's a good review.
Cool.
Housekeeping item, I should say. Sorry, Ashley.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll say that it would be a good time to look back, compare Q1 of this year to Q1 of last year on your website in Google Analytics. See how those compare, and for your key pages, see what metrics have moved positively or negatively, and if there's some adjustments that you need to make along those lines, it's a good time to evaluate that.
That's great. I'll close that with, I think it's quarterly is always a good time to be reviewing your overarching strategy, certainly from an inbound perspective. So where are you at with your search goals? How do your business goals for Q1, how do they translate into online goals for Q1? What does that look like moving forward into Q2? Certainly, I would hope that you had your Q2 content marketing plan nailed down and locked in and already in production. But if not, making sure you're revisiting that, making sure you're on point with the season. If there is any kind of seasonality, cyclicality with your business or the industry that you're in. And, maybe too, if you fell short, if you look back at Q1 and say, gosh, we were doing really good out of the gate, and then we started to fall down on the job from a content perspective, now's your opportunity to push that big reset button and get back to it and create some consistencies again. So, cool. Good stuff. All right, Pat, you agreed to take lead this week. You sat out last week, so...
sat out last week. I took the afternoon off.
You were drinking beer and watching basketball, even though...
My in-laws forced me to do that. I was not able to control that. It was one of those things where I had to take one for the team and go sit on a bar stool somewhere. I didn't want to be there, guys.
Sounds rough.
Yeah. Okay, so back around the beginning of the year, I made some bold predictions about voice search and voice assistants and how I thought and still think they're going to die in the vine.
Plateau. I think plateau is probably a more subtle way to put it.
I'm going to stick with die in the vine.
Okay.
They're not going to plateau. They're going to decrease.
Okay.
I think they've already plateaued.
Okay.
I really do. So I wanted to do a little research. I've kind of been keeping my nose out of that one. I've not wanted to bug it because I caught so much flack for it.
But it was for good reason.
It was for
good reason.
Yeah. So I did some digging, and I did happen to just find that recently at SMX West, there was a roundtable conversation between a couple of industry professionals, and the subject was optimizing content for voice search and virtual assistants. And I found an author in an article that's on Search Engine Land, and this was just published a couple days ago. The big takeaway that I got from this article is the big reveal that happened during this panel was that they basically outlined good SEO tactics across the board. It's just
Interesting.
It's the same concepts. They're talking about long tail phrasing, linguistic speaking, just basic keeping it human, proper schema markup. Go for the type of elements that you would strategize for when you're trying to get a position 0 or like a proper Wikipedia page, because that usually has a dominating result in position 0, things like that. And it was just kind of frustrating for me because it's what we've been learning as SEOs forever. Is we're leaning towards being human, keeping it human, and blurring that line between robotic and human, and keeping content as fresh and clean and not stuffed. And apparently that's the strategy for voice assistants and voice search right now. They dropped some interesting stats, how 80% of, where did that stack go? 80% of voice searches are informational intent, like guides, how-tos, tools, FAQs. 10% are I want to goes, like store location services, press releases, customer info. 10% was I want to do, like looking for videos, and product information, comparisons, product stories.
So 80% of searches, the intent is very much informational, what we often talk about on the redirect as well as just internally here in Black Truck is those problem-based queries. People that are looking for a solution to their problem,
right.
Answering a question, where what that is saying is 20%, did I guess? There's 10%
is 80, 10, and 10.
Okay, so, but 20% of those have this strong intent for I want or I'm looking
right.
for something specific, and those are the money keywords, right? The bottom
right.
of the funnel,
right?
Phrases.
The bottom of the funnel stuff, and to me it's no different. And as what I have been doing for search, it isn't anything different. I guess ultimately my biggest beef on these is there isn't a new learning curve we have to master on voice assistants as far as what SEOs need to do. The learning curve comes from the people who own the devices. That's where the curve is going to be coming from. And then as far as the devices themselves, I think I read in here that over at this point 400 million personal assistants are now in the wild out there, and they're being not necessarily used, but they've been sold. 400 million have been sold, and that could be in conjunction with other devices. Your phone is a personal assistant because more than likely it's got a personal assistant built into it. I myself am now quote unquote a smart home because I upgraded through my power company my thermostats to smart thermostats that have an Alexa device built into them. And I've been trying really hard to adapt. And I consider myself on the high end of the technology adaptation scale, and I'm struggling quite a bit with it.
Well, you revealed that before in previous episodes, how we learned it's very much about those, Google calls them actions, Alexa calls them skills, where you as the user very much have to understand how to talk to the thing.
Right.
Versus the other way around. So if everybody's freaking out about robots taking over the world, just know there's hope in the fact that you actually need to learn or teach it how to take over the world first.
Right.
So,
but those teaching modules are based on interactions, observation periods of people learning, doing these things wrong.
Agreed.
Another big pet peeve of mine in all these voice articles, these assistant articles, is the first example given is how to turn your lights down, and how to like turn my lights down 20%. That drives me nuts because as a DIYer myself and someone who looks at all the steps, I'm big into the steps and how to get to A to B. In order to do that, in order to turn your lights down, you don't need just an assistant. You need the smart device. You need dimmable light bulbs.
Yep.
You need a light fixture that can handle the dimmable light bulbs. You need a switch that can handle the compatibility with the type of dimmable bulbs that you have. And then the switch also then needs to be compatible with the smart device that you have that's connected to it. So I'm going to upgrade my entire house electronics just to save myself 10 seconds from standing up and going to the wall and turning the light down.
Yeah.
You know, on
the subject of smart homes, regardless of voice search, because now we're going down these are two completely.
Right.
I think people need to understand
two totally different things.
These are two very, very, very different things,
and people aren't separating it.
No, they're not. Let's put it out there. The consumer is not going to separate the two, right? Because it's the same device they use for doing a search to reorder Tide as it is the same one that they tell to turn their lights down. So what search marketers need to do is they need to challenge themselves to separate those entities out, to say there's search and how we can conduct commerce and relationships from a search perspective. And then there's interactivity with the device to say, I need you to do X.
Right.
I think that's where they're going to accelerate as they continue to be adapted and that technology becomes easier to work with and integrated. On the search side, though, back to your original point, what you're seeing is very much, it's not a do the same things that you're doing. It certainly is a little bit of an evolution in natural language and things like that of again, writing for human beings.
Yeah.
And certainly taking an opportunity to look at the featured snippet side of things too. So.
Something that I've adapted quite a long time ago, before voice assistants and voice search was a big topic of conversation across the marketing and search world, is voice to search or voice to text. You know, on my smartphone, I'll use, when I have the keyboard open, I'll touch the little microphone button at the bottom, and I'll use that feature daily. And I will speak what I want to type. And I'll speak it in the way it needs to be typed. And that has been, I've seen improvements in that over the years. I'd say I've been using that feature for probably 5 years now.
So with that, do you think that that as that technology advances, voice search is going to become more normalized, meaning it's going to be very, very similar to how we search with our thumbs or search with the keyboard?
I think it's trying to reinvent the mousetrap, to tell you the truth. I think it's being overthought too much, because it's working fine as is through the voice keyboard, I guess, if you want to call it, you know, the microphone that's built into your keyboard.
Sure.
It's been working fine for me for years, and I know how it works. I know what it needs to do. I've in my life as a smartphone user, I was Android for a couple of years. I think I've been iPhone for about 5 years now. And I was an iPhone user when Surrey first came out, and I recognized within probably 6 months that it's worthless. And since then, I will only use the keyboard microphone tool, and I think that's where it can go, and that's all it needs to be.
It's a good observation. So coming out of that, I mean, I saw a lot of chatter from SMX too. I mean, it was, I think 1 week we talked about, you could see a lot of stuff going on, discussions from PubCon and now SMX West. So what's your big takeaway from there? Continue doing, you know, honest on-page optimizations, in an appropriate fashion?
If you're doing good, solid, modern, white hat SEO, keeping it human tactics, you do not have to change your game for voice search.
It's good. It's a good point. I'm not going to agree 100%, but I don't have to agree with that 100%. I think there are certain things that people can do to definitely impact voice search and the readability of it from that perspective. I think that now with the mobile first index just starting to become more what we might deem mainstream, I think while things have plateaued off in your to your point from maybe that search perspective, I think we're just getting started.
I agree. I think there has to be a complete evaluation or reinvention of it before it can get solved. The first version of the tablet, or the first version of the smart device, or the PDF, or what were they called in early 2000s?
Yeah.
The pocket computers.
Palm
Pilots and pocket computers. Yeah, PDA, that's it.
PDF, I like PDF
too. That took a dozen years
Sure.
of not being functional before it became an everyday thing.
True,
and I think
true.
it might be 2025 before there's a solution to what we're discussing every day right now.
Can I take that as a segue?
Sure.
I think it's going to be a lot faster than that. So something new out kind of within the past week from our discussions is certainly this is in the Google world, right? I don't think Bing is there yet, but with Cortana they could be pretty close behind. But official announcement is that they've released shopping actions. So actions again are Google's way of prompts from a voice search perspective. So Google Actions for voice shopping and assistant. Search Engine Roundtable's Barry Schwartz published a great post on that topic of how things actually got a little confusing because the business news site Reuters had published a post that garnered a lot of attention, and it got a lot of people confused. Like, I'm sure a lot of SEOs or practitioners of search will notice that usually when your business publications get involved in the details and try to talk about the inner workings of search, things get a little bit moneyed. Your Entrepreneurs of the World, Inc. magazines and things like that, things get a little bit hyped up and freaked out. But what had happened is that Reuters had come out and basically said that this was specific to Google search. They just kind of generalized it. It's not a generalization. This is, people need to really understand this is not an organic search feature, but it's a Google shopping feature, specifically an ad. So we're talking about promoted shopping ads. We know, and I think we've discussed it before, Google Express, they're pushing Google Express pretty hard from that shopping perspective. This really is very much a feature of that. So it is only a matter of time before Google started to test out methods to monetize off of voice search. So the example that's used was something like ordering dish soap in this case. There was great one on Search Engine Land as well as Search Engine Roundtable, cost per sale shopping actions, and a unified shopping program across Search and Assistant and Express. I haven't seen anything yet. We have only a couple shopping campaigns that are running, so we're probably not going to see that anytime soon. But it's very much the device buy. In this case, their example is Up and Up laundry detergent. Okay, I found something from Target on Google Express. I was thinking that we could totally do a little bit of a live action on this and see if it actually works. So it's only available via Google Assistant, Google Express, and Google Express shopping ads in Google Search. So being a Pixel user, I would assume that this is baked in, but we'll try it. It could fail miserably. So I'm going to follow their exact query here. I love it so Target is in on this game, so Target's going to get a bunch of traffic from this. Okay, Google. Buy Up and Up laundry detergent.
Here's what I found on Google Express.
So it's telling me in this case what it found. Now again, this goes back to my point before about voice search, Pat. It's probably in line with your thoughts and beliefs too, is that and we talked about it with Cindy Crum too in the interview I did with her and had her on the show. It's what happens after that. So first, you have to have Google Express. You have to have this set up on your phone. Just like Google Assistant, like my Google Assistant won't work if I don't have my password, put it in, things like that. I just can't say, okay, Google, and have the phone unlock, right? It's trying to do a search right now. But it did find me results, but I still have to interact with the device after that.
Yeah, I brought that up in one of our podcasts where I said, okay, you did voice search, now what?
Yeah. Now, Amazon, though, like if you were to say, whatever it is, Alexa, order, up and up laundry detergent, it would very well be able to do that for you. So
built on a commerce foundation.
Yeah. But interestingly enough is that they're using Google Express to pull that in, which is very much a cost per or a pay per model. So Google's quickly been able to go to market and say, we can monetize over this. And this includes Google Home products as well. So you can be at home and do these types of eyes-free shopping experiences. So I imagine that very much if you were a major retailer, I don't see a lot of small e-commerce players necessarily getting into this, at least right now, but if you're a major e-com retailer, the Targets of the world, the Home Depots, that level, I think there's a really, really big opportunity here, where Amazon was trying to come out with, they have the stupid tiles. I call them stupid because I'm not going to stick those things up in my cabinet like, hey babe, did you press... can somebody go downstairs and press the tile so we get more Tide in the house? Nobody's freaking gonna do that.
Is this podcast a Tide ad?
Yeah, it should be. The Redirect Podcast is brought to you by Tide Pods. Eat responsibly. No, probably not. So I just think that I totally have gone on rants before, much like Pat has, about the future of voice search. I very much am a believer that it's growing. We have yet to see what's going to happen there. From the commerce perspective is what I'm extremely intrigued about. This is the first step, and again, it's only been a matter of time to say that Google's going to monetize on this. The whole concept of their zero search results coming up too, that maybe Ashley will touch on. I think there's a lot that's going to be shaken up in this mobile.
There is a lot
first
that's
index,
going to be shaken up, especially if you've watched the news in the last 2 weeks about privacy and data collection.
Oh, sure.
And how in Europe they have data collection laws. Here in the States, we do not.
Well, actually, what's interesting, ironically enough, if you are an AdWords customer. Specifically an AdWords customer primarily, let me see here. You should have received an updated policy recently, and I'm going to see if I can actually find mine right now where it came through at. I might not be able to, but it speaks very much to what happened in the UK. So what it is here, I'll read it to you guys. Important updates about the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR. So over the past year, we've shared how we are preparing to meet the requirements of GDPR, the new data protection law that came into force on the 25th of May, 2018. That affects European and non-European businesses using online advertising and measurement solutions when their sites and apps are accessed by users in the European Economic Area. This totally has with their PLAs and favoring things, putting things in their favor over competition. Right. But anyways, so it's cool to see. I think it's very cool to see Google try and monetize off this. The big e-commerce players are going to be the ones to lead the charge in that. They're actually partnering with Google's Red Card. They're working with these major retailers to integrate on the financial side to make that transaction process smooth, because at the end of the day, it's them or Amazon. That's the race, right? That's the new space race. It's Google Shopping or Amazon. And Amazon right now, as we know it, leads the charge with Prime. We're all Prime members. How's it gonna, how's that's gonna affect us? So I'll end that discussion there.
Cool. Well, I'm going to take things in a totally different direction.
Perfect.
Much like Patrick's hobby horse in these discussions is the voice search. One of my
Are you going to talk about content?
Well, surprise, no.
Damn.
My other hobby horse, which is reviews.
Ah.
So we have a fairly recent blog post on best practices for responding to customer reviews, and so we'll make sure to link to that here in our show notes. But that's just always something that I'm keeping my eye out about what's happening in the world of reviews. I kind of have a PR background, so I'm always interested in reviews from a reputation management standpoint. And I think that a lot of businesses really underuse this facet of the digital realm. So as far as news on that front, I guess this isn't necessarily recent news. It's new to me. I found out from a recent article that Joy Hawkins shared on Search Engine Land. It's an article on 8 types of negative reviews Google will remove.
Apparently there was a Google Voice call coming in. Excuse me. Can you finish, please?
So, again, the article is on 8 types of negative reviews Google will remove. So I thought that was really interesting because I've seen a lot about people having trouble getting reviews removed.
Facebook is the same. Facebook runs into those same challenges as well.
I mean, think about how many reviews must get flagged for all sorts of reasons, and then you have some type of filtering, some kind of human element trying to get through all of that too. And
well, and as a business owner or a marketer too, you feel somewhat helpless in that world. I got asked this question actually. It was late last week by it was more of a family member. They asked about there was a negative review that got posted, and they're like, "So am I just at the mercy?" And this happened to be with Facebook, and really the answer is, yeah. I mean, you can report it, but until somebody manually reviews it, yeah.
Yep.
Continue.
Yes. So, I mean, and in that case, before I move on, in that case, your best bet is to respond in some way. Even if you don't necessarily agree 100% with the content of that review, I think a lot of people will feel a little bit indignant about getting that kind of a review. And instead of, going straight for trying to get it removed, at the very least, because it may be a long time before you can even get it removed, if it is found to go against the policies of whatever platform you're on, if you don't take that time to respond, then that review is floating out there for all your potential customers to see, and that's not going to reflect well on you because not everybody is going to have the capacity to think, oh, this might be just a one-time fluke thing. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox there and get to what I was going to say.
It's so important to respond to those reviews.
Yeah, even if they're negative, right? I mean, if they're positive, thank them.
Right.
If they're negative, certainly try and answer it. And I know, Ashley, you provided, I think you and Adrian provided some really great tips. Or did you come up with that one, the reviews best practices?
That was me.
Okay. I know you provided some good insights on how to go about that in there as well, and I believe that that's a really good point. Is that you want to respond to all of them if you can.
If you can, and if you're getting a volume where it would be impossible to respond to all of them,
totally,
then my recommendation would be to focus on, as far as the positive reviews, a lot of people, if they leave a 5-star review, that's awesome. If they leave a 5-star review with a comment, that gives you something to interact with. If it's just a random 5-star review without any text with it, that's great. You don't need to thank them for that. Then you should focus on the people who give their time and energy into giving you that positive feedback.
Do you feel that if, let's say, they've got 100 reviews, and let's say 95 of them are 5-star reviews with comments, and they've all said, hey, thanks, I appreciate your kind words, and then those other 5 are, 3 stars and below, do those responses, let's say they had one really bad 1-star review with a detailed description about something bad that happened, and the business owner responds, does it get lost amongst all their other positive responses? Or would the one, if they only responded to like the less than 5 stars, would that stand out more as a more proactive response?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure what kind of premise displays reviews off of. if it's recency or if it's
sure.
It could be that, let's say that there were the 95 positive reviews and the owner didn't respond to those, but they did respond to that one. I wonder if that one would go toward the top so that Google would display
Right.
that response.
A lot of
Because the owner did interact with that one.
Most of it is based off of it's not a relevancy thing; it's a timeline thing.
Okay.
So the most recent's gonna more or less rise to the top in chronological order from
Right.
a Google perspective. Now, if you're doing a Google Map search, and it's pulling in from they're filling up their knowledge panel with reviews from other places like Facebook or like. I know they're not pulling 100% from TripAdvisor, but maybe if you're in the health world, it's something like Real Self or some of these other aggregate type sites. That's where I think things start to get real fishy in the Google world because you can't always respond inside of there for those.
Right.
Where you can on the Google My Business side of things.
And then back on the on-site side of it, I know a lot of, just a personal experience, a lot of tool websites, big box tool stores and
Doing their own.
the medium box tool sites that live in a harbor somewhere. They will, underneath the product, they will have the most liked or the highest rated positive review and the highest rated negative reviews side by side, and like 2 columns on the screen.
Nice.
And it's up to the user then to decide which one makes more sense for their
That's
Interesting.
great. I think it's a great approach. I
Right.
mean, give them the positive and give them the negative and make them decide.
Yeah.
Odds are if you've got, as you pointed out, 95 positive reviews to 5 that are maybe less than stellar.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna make an educated guess on that and determine what they want to do.
Yep. Yeah, man, the wheels in my head were turning because I have a big hobby horse too for the concept of digital literacy, and like we have to understand that not everybody has the same approach to what they interact with online. That's a whole other topic.
Can I respond to you in all caps right now?
Why are you shouting?
Man, all right, maybe another time we'll.
But it is I think that's a really great point though. That's a bit of a tip though, is to go into it and know that just similar to email, there's no emotion or there's emotion. It's limited emotion in written text, written content. So similar to an email. My email to you might come off very direct and crass at some point when I'm just like, yeah, that sounds good. You might be like, or I might say, no, don't do that, do this. If we were having a conversation and you saw the nonverbal cues and things like that, it's very much different. I think reviews are the same thing. So to a business owner, to a marketer who's in control of those reviews, my big suggestion for that would be, watch how deep you read into that review. Don't go at it from just face value and be like, oh my god, these guys, you certainly want to kind of break it down, but also be conscious of maybe that person's ability to communicate online.
Sure.
And their skill level. There's a reason that they chose to make the comment on your page that they did. And certainly, I think the negative comments, you will start to see more of that on the lower, the lower scale of the, what'd you say, digital literacy?
Yeah.
The aptitude of that. And so I think you want to handle that as nice as possible. Maybe, the old communications adage of force them offline and try and get a phone conversation going.
Yep. Good stuff.
That's great.
Yeah. So, this little conversation has meandered in a couple different ways, but I guess the big highlight that I wanted to take out of this article that I'll link to was that leaving reviews for a current or former employer is now against Google policy. It used to be only current employees couldn't. Let me rephrase this. It used to be against Google's policy for a current employee to leave a review. and people who would try to report reviews from past employees who were leaving negative reviews. Didn't get help from Google because that wasn't part of their policy. And it was in December, I don't know how I missed this, but it was in December that Google actually changed its policy, and now it's past employees and current employees.
Interesting.
It's against Google's policy to leave a review. So I was very, not surprised, but I guess I was just like, oh, I didn't know that. And I think that's maybe one of, not the biggest, but definitely one of the big concerns that a lot of businesses will have when they are dealing with negative reviews. I mean, this list of the 8 that Joy posted on Search Engine Land, a lot of these have to do with people who have some kind of an agenda. And if things don't go the way that you would like them to in a business setting and an employee is no longer with your business, there might be some kind of an agenda there where they're trying to get back at you. And so that was a big frustration for business owners related to Google reviews. So good news, that is now a means for you to flag a review.
Well, there's 2 sides of every story.
There is.
But the general web user
doesn't know that.
Doesn't know that.
Yep. So on that note, I definitely want to reiterate that just because you don't agree with a review's content 100%, doesn't give you grounds to try to get it removed. It's really going to come down, again, to these platforms' policies. And in some cases, flagging it once may not be enough if it's, I'm not encouraging a pile-on by any means, but, if it's a very, truly inaccurate and, fake or clearly an attack sort of situation, and, Google isn't addressing it as quickly as you would like to, again, going back to my previous point, make sure that you're responding to it in a gracious way and not trying to paint your side of the story to make it a he said, she said sort of thing. If you can figure out a neutral, objective way of responding to it while it is out there floating around. But I did see some forum discussion on if you can have a couple other people flag the review, then there's a better chance that Google will pay attention to it. So again, don't get spammy about that for reviews that you just don't like for the sake of not liking them.
It's the reason we can't have nice things. We continue to do that, people.
Right. Sorry, go ahead, Pat.
No, I think I was getting ready to ask a question, and in the process of getting ready to say it out loud, answered it internally, so I don't need to ask it.
Yeah. So it is easy to report a review that you think abuses Google's policies, and we'll make sure to link to those policies in these show notes. You can navigate to that review either on your knowledge panel that shows up in organic search. If you click on that specific review, there should be a little flag that shows up by the person's name. You can tap on that. Or if you're in Google My Business and you're looking at your review specifically in your Google My Business account, you can, there's like this three little dots. Google loves these 3 little dots for their menus. You tap on that and you can flag it as inappropriate. So
okay.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for that stuff in your interface too. That's good.
Yeah.
Man, we've been all over the map today. So from more on voice search and really what that means and how to approach it. Do you approach it differently? Do you not? Pat's advice is keep doing good. Keep doing good on page SEO, and you're saying that that's going to come out in the wash. Definitely, Google's going to start to monetize on the search side of things. Well, I think that's limited right now to big e-commerce players. I think eventually it'll come down to those at a smaller scale. And then, what are you doing from a reviews perspective, and how are you going about monitoring those? And and maybe that's another quarterly checks and balances.
There you go.
What are we doing?
Do we have a strategy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ask yourself that. How are we going to handle this moving forward? I've got another really great one to share, but I'm actually going to hold this one off until next week when we record. because I think it will take us down a completely different path, and there will be some great discussion around it. So, and really timeliness of it doesn't matter, so I'm not overly concerned about it.
Speaking of timeliness,
Yeah.
you had alluded to it, and it wasn't the topic that I ended up covering this week, but going back to our discussion from the last episode about the zero result search.
Yes.
So Google has retracted that experiment now. So we did write a blog post, and that's up on our website, just kind of hashing out what this might mean for the future, because just because it's done now doesn't mean that it's not going to come back, and just kind of observations of what that looked like.
Totally.
So check that out, and but just know for now that that's not happening. That's my update.
No, really good thing. I was gonna mention it, so I'm glad that you did. But a lot of things happening still continuously in the world of search, and it'll be interesting to see where things head here in this next quarter. So, thanks for joining us, and until next time, good luck.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.